is. You think you're prepared for how hot coffee is. We're never prepared. What up, book nerds? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Chrissy. Welcome back to the Purple Library. Today, I realized we almost in June. Wrap-up video. Who's doing wrap-up video? Let's talk about everything so far this year. I did talk about my favorites from the quarter one, but really we kind of almost in quarter two. It's just all gonna be mixed together. It's all be mixed. They're all book recommendations, books I had a great time with. Science fiction fantasy read. You'll see me periodically looking down at my phone or my journal or my tablet to get all my stuff straight, because you know your girl be having problems sometimes getting through some of these. I'm gonna give a wrap up of all the science fiction and fantasy reads so far this year, and it's quite a lot. Be quick on the gun. First book I read, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. This was my first reading experience reading Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler is one of the I don't think she's the first African-American science fiction writer, but she's probably one of the first well-known black science fiction writers. Her work has been known to be prolific and experimental for the time, and I heard so much about her work. A lot of us might have read Kindred when we were in school. Parable of the Sower is it's actually set in 2020, and so this book has definitely, I can see the popularity of this book soaring in the past couple of years. We follow a community, LA, and the world as we know it has completely collapsed. The economic, social, and political landscape of America is fractured. States are sovereign. There is rampant violence and diseases. Everyone is out for their own selves. So this community has bonded together to really survive. Young girl feels inspired to prepare her family because she believes that they won't be able to stay in the location that they are, and then all the dynamics that go along with that and her journey towards that. This was good, although it had a very interesting perspective about, you know, our current society and a very near possible future for America. It didn't really land for me. I think it was just a little bit overhyped for me, but I would recommend it. There are some trigger warnings for a lot of violence and gore and some very circumstantial trauma situations that would happen in situations like this. So just keep that in mind. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. I recommend this. Feel free to take a coffee break if you need to. In the Woodsman, my Ava Reed fantasy standalone. Adult fantasy, if you don't know, is definitely a little more complex with world building and magic systems and multiple POVs. Interested in adult fantasy, I wouldn't recommend this as an entry point. I'll do a video later on about some beginner adult fantasy recommendations. I think would be good if that's a genre that you want to get started in. Highly recommend because it's so good. But Woodsman is about 2 different types of cultures and clans. And one culture is the wolf people, and they are pretty much nomads, and they have a very communal lifestyle, and they have a connection with the wolf of some sort. And then you have the woodsmen, who represent, you know, the other part of the world, who is they control most of this world. And every year, in order for these 2 societies not to go to war, the woodsman comes and collects a person from their tribe, from the wolf's tribe. Well, this situation happens, and, you know, think Beauty and the Beast kind of trope. I gave this 3.5 stars, and it was good. I had a good time with it. There is a romance, secondary romance plot that I actually thought was really good. I really enjoyed that part, and I don't read romance, but I do like it when it's pretty good in a story. It definitely has a very Russian inspired nomadic feel to it. That was what it was based on, like that type of culture. So if that sounds fascinating to you, check it out. The 22 Murders of Madison May by Max Berry. I gave this 3 stars. This actually is a science fiction about a girl who this is kind of a complex one to describe because I really don't remember. So just read the synopsis because I read this a while ago. I guess it's time to move to the tablet and not the journal. Did you see the journal? I turned the page and it had no notes. I said, oh, okay. So I just been out here just living my life and not taking no notes or nothing. Hey y'all, a coherent synopsis, the 22 murders of Madison May. So a real estate agent named Madison May is shocked when her open house goes completely wrong and the stranger that comes to the open house says to her, hey, I love you, I'm here for you, I want to be with you, but then he murders her. Cue the journalist Felicity, who arrives on the scene to investigate this murder. Come to find out, she sees the murderer and then he disappears, and nobody remembers Madison May and nobody remembers her. So what is going on? Now back to the incoherent review. It's a very interesting book to read. It was really fun exploring the multiverse and, you know, time traveling, and it was fun. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's a great entry point if you are curious about that. If you want a little mystery, you want a little thrill, you want a little science fiction thrown in there, but not too complicated. This was a lot of fun. Life by Brent Wheat. Book 2 in the Lightbringer series. I have not talked about this series on my channel at all, but I did start this series last year in 2021. The Lightbringer series is an adult fantasy series. It's a 5-book series, but who is surprised about how many books it is? We'll talk about the first book in the Lightbringer series. This world, light is the magic system, and people who have the ability to draft certain colors of the rainbow, blue, green, yellow, purple, red, and orange. I think those are the colors of the rainbow. I'm sorry if I missed some. But essentially, in this world, people can draft these colors into their eyes and see layers of orange or red, and then they can use that to create weapons or whatever it is that they want to draft. But the prism is the one person in this world that is king. He is seen as a religious figure as well, and he can manipulate and control all the colors, issues in his kingdom, and that he's really losing his colors. And then he realizes he has a son that he didn't know about as well. And so here ensues a journey. Here ensues, oh my goodness, what is he going to do? And a little boy or a young teenager, he's probably about 12 or 13 years old at this point, Kip, who is learning that he has a father now. Story takes off from there. It is a lot of fun. So I read the second book in that. It was a great time. I gave it 4 stars. You know, the man did talk a lot about bosoms and breasts and busts. So I could have done without that. I was like, sir, and I can see in the book where they tamed it, because I'm sure his editor was like, sir, listen, we gotta change this up a bit. It was fun. Next series I read was a young adult fantasy leaning speculative story. I really don't know, kind of very genre bending, and it does have some fantastical elements to it. These Violent Delight series by Chloe Gong, and I read book 2. Book 1 is about 2 warring gangs, but it is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. What makes this one different is that there is a monster that's lurking out in the water, and it's causing people to hurt themselves. It is a bit dark leaning, but this was fun. I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend it too as well if you like Romeo Juliet Shakespeare retellings. The historical fiction aspects of Hong Kong in the 20s, so it's kind of set in the Gilded Age in Hong Kong. That was a good time. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Blake Crouch is my guy. I read Blake Crouch back in like 2012, his Pine series, which I plan on reading again lately. But getting back into reading again the past 2 years, Blake has been on some stuff. I read Recursion last year, which was absolutely amazing. And then I read Dark Matter. He has another one coming out next month, and I'm so excited. It's called Upgrade. I'm gonna put it there. But oh my gosh, so I recommend Blake Crouch. Real talk, all his books are amazing. I ain't gonna sit here and hold you. You should read Blake Crouch if you want some science fiction. I'm going to kind of go through the synopsis because I ain't going to act like, you know. Happy with your life? Those are the last words that Jason Desian hears before the mass abductor knocks him unconscious, before he awakes to find himself strapped to a gurney surrounded by strangers in hazmat. He wakes up to see people he doesn't recognize. He's in this impossible world, and he's trying to figure out, is this world a dream or it's not? He remembers everything and that it's so real to him, but how can he get his family back, and what has happened to him, and who's done this to him? This book is more than just a science fiction story, and it really goes into all of those science fiction type themes about humanity, about our discovery, and what do humans do when if we have the ability to play God and to be God, and all of these different concepts. 5 stars is one of my favorites, and it is kind of it's leaning to being one of my favorites of all time. It's not there, but it's definitely up there. The audiobook was phenomenal. The audiobook for all of his books are great. Blake Crouch is the guy in science fiction. Crouch is the guy, and he's emerging author in science fiction. I'm so glad he's here now. He's been writing for so long, and for his books just get better and better with time, and it was such a good time. So you gotta check out Blake Crouch. War by Nikiti Okafor. This is a African futurist story. It centers around a girl named Ayo, and she was born with a condition or some genetic deficiency. Her parents opted for her to be body augmentation, and in this African futurist world, she's kind of seen as like a devil. And people don't trust her, and they think she's freakish and unnatural. But then there's events that happen, and the world slowly begins to unravel. She goes on a journey to discover more about her body and her society and what that means for her and the world in which she lives in. This was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I gave this 3 stars. I do recommend it if you want to read something different, especially from science fiction from African authors, if that's something that you're interested in, or if you just want a very futuristic leaning science fiction story. Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I gave this 1 star, y'all. Now let me explain. Relationship with young adult fantasy is very complex because, in my opinion, this young adult fantasy out here be trash. In my opinion, YA from 2011 through 2014, 2015, I think just hit mad different. I think it has the beginning of that genre becoming popular and becoming just a genre in and of itself was a great time. I read Red Queen series in 2014, 2013, and I really liked it. I loved Red Queen, and for some reason I stopped. So I said, let me go back, read Red Queen. I loved it, 4 stars. But Glass Sword got 1 star, and I mean, this book let me down. I didn't even care, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I skimmed most of it. I skimmed 250 pages, y'all, and I still understood what was going on. That says a lot. It didn't really work for me, but I was hoping it would work out towards the end. So I was like, let me just go ahead and finish it. Normally I would DNF it because books I DNF I don't rate, so that's good for everybody, me and the author. They don't have to, people don't have to hear my review because it could be a little more harsher. But this one is not really a harsh review. It's just, this series is a dud. Some series you just aren't gonna work. Now I remember why I didn't finish the series. Yeah, this book was just boring. The main character was just like, girl, can you just not be the worst person? She was supposed to be the antagonist. She was supposed to be the protagonist. She was the antagonist. She was the worst. And so in this world with the Red Queen, if I didn't explain that before, in this world, color of your blood is steel. It means you have power, you have prestige, you actually have superhuman strength or some additional powers. That red blood, you're poor, you're the worker bee, you're on the outsides of the world, and or your blood is silver, then you on the come up. About a girl who has red blood, but she manifests silver properties or silver type blood powers, and they're like, who's this girl? We got to figure it out into the story and the drama and all the fantastical elements that go with it. I recommend Red Queen, but it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and it was a really good cliffhanger, and it makes you want to read Glass Sword, but y'all, I can't even say, I don't, I mean, you can if you want to. It's your world. Do we need to talk about Robin Hobb? We don't, do we? Kingdom of Copper, the David trilogy. The David trilogy centers around a young girl who is a thief, and she is running a con, and she ends up summoning a genie, and the two of them have to escape because you have all these mysterious monsters coming to chase her now, and he takes her into the mysterious magical city of Brad. That was a wonderful book. So I read the second book in that series. It was wonderful. All of the different factions and stuff kind of made my head hurt a little bit. The political reasons for this one, political reasons this one, and everybody like, you know, you did it. No, you did it. No, you did. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, it was kind of a lot, but it didn't take away from the story. It was just a fun time. You can take a coffee break again if you need to. In the middle, the 5th season, the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I was so excited to read this. 5th season is really about in this particular world, there are people who can control the platonic structures and the geography of the earth, and cause earthquakes and all kinds of geographic issues, hurricanes and stuff, and blades and blowing stuff up, and ice storms, and these folks can control the earth's atmosphere, seem to be outcast and kind of dangerous. And so the story opens up following several characters. You follow a young girl going to a school to learn how to control this type of power. You follow a mother who's trying to find her daughter. And you follow 2 other characters who are trying to investigate these types of events happening in the world. Fortunately, this didn't really do anything for me. I gave this 2 stars. That makes my heart kind of sad because I really love N.K. Jemisin. I enjoyed The City We Became. I'm not giving up on any of her books, but I think for me, this is a very unpopular opinion. If you've heard of the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, it's got several awards and it is highly acclaimed. And I understand and I can appreciate how experimental her writing was, and the representation, the social awareness, the themes that she discussed about oppression and equality and motherhood and relationships. It just did not work for me. There was just some things that were missing. I didn't think the plot was that good. I think the plot was kind of non-existent. I think that the world itself, although it was so experimental, I don't know how it really added to the plot of the story because I didn't really understand where all this was going, what our goal was. I took away largely from the enjoyment in reading this story for me. So I'm not going to finish the series, but I am going to read more N.K. Jemisin because it's N.K. Jemisin and I'm not giving up on my girl, in my opinion. Like, this is not even up for discussion. But this series didn't work for me. So I do encourage you to check out 5th season. It is an adult science fiction. I know that it got a Hugo Award. There are some very mature scenes that happen in the story, and heads up about the points of view. One of the points of view is written in 2nd person. That is very different. Normally don't read books in 2nd person, not in science fiction, fantasy. Usually science fiction and fantasy is in the 3rd person. It can be a little jarring. Those things don't really affect my reading personally. But again, that wasn't one of the reasons that I had an issue with the book. But I do want to give you a heads up about that. I think you should read it. Give N.K. Jemisin a chance. I think whatever N.K. Jemisin book connects with you, I think that's a great thing, because I've heard other people who loved this series but didn't like another series, and they liked Her City We Became but didn't like Killing Moon or the Inheritance trilogy. So she has several series out there that she has completed, so I encourage you to go check those out. I'm going to start on the Inheritance trilogy and see what that works, and I hope I enjoy it. But it don't matter because she's working on the 2nd book in the Cities trilogy. I think that's what it's called. I'm excited about that. Woo! That was a lot. Hopefully you heard some books, so you know about some new books that you're interested in. Let me know which ones you find interesting, and actually I want to know which ones maybe you read and you actually, you know, didn't work for you. That's always good to know as well. Again, every book isn't for everybody, but it's just all about reading and having fun and finding what works out for you. Your girl just trying to be a part of the community. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I see y'all book nerds next time. Bye.